This is a complete change pace from what we've just had. I'm going to step through this, and it's actually a bit of a different one for me as well, because while I talk a lot about accessibility, this is slightly new one for me. So first of all, for those who don't know, yeah, I'm Mike. I've been around IT far too long. And yeah, I do all accessibility, mental health, inclusion, and all those wonderful joys, and nag people and work with events to try and make sure that our community events are accessible as well. So yeah, I've been around a little while. And what I want to look at is, I mean, obviously, I don't do New Year's resolutions because I break them within about 30 minutes of making them. So, but we've got AI. Everybody knows it. We're all probably sick to the high teeth of hearing the phrase AI, but it's a reality. It's part of our world now. And what does that mean for us with accessibility? And can it lead to a bit of a revolution in the way that we can deliver accessibility in Dynamics 365, in Power Platform, in our technology solutions, in all the areas that we can? When Copilot first came out, I tried it and it was thinking about it, but not quite there. Things have moved on rapidly and we're getting to a much better place with it, and it's really exciting. I was having a play over Christmas and I'm going to come on to that. So it's yeah, it's just fantastic. And I see Bobby got completely the reference I was going to with my AI generated Lego scene there. So yes, it was based on One Day More. First thing we need to do is understand what the AI challenge is with accessibility. And what I say to a lot of the people I work with, and certainly a lot of the people, the graduates I work with and everything else, is we really need to make sure that we're applying critical thinking to everything that we're doing. And we need to be applying understanding to everything that's coming out of it. Because, and this audience, I'm teaching you to suck eggs, but it's, I hope you'll forgive the background information, but we all know LLMs, they're based on human knowledge and sources. That's the reality. AI will only think within the constraints and interpretations of those sources. It will try and make things up. It'll interpret things. It'll collate it all. But at the end of the day, it's still working on sources that we've come from. When we look at those sources, though, the amount of those that contain conversation about accessibility is a tiny blip in the grand scheme of the library of the internet and technology. So we need to be very deterministic about the way we talk to AI, to talk to agents, to talk to Copilot, to talk to all the different models that we've got out there. So we need to learn to speak the right language. And people who know me will appreciate I'm rushing through because I can talk for hours. So doing 20 minutes is a challenge for me. So excuse me if I'm going too fast, but I do want to try and show you some stuff. Prompt engineers are a thing. When that term first came out, I know quite a lot of people, myself included, who were kind of found it an entertaining term, let's say. It seemed a bit odd at first. but it's genuinely a thing. It truly is. If you don't prompt properly, you're going to get really naff results. You've got to be really clear in what you're asking of these things. You've got to set out clear parameters, define your outputs, and explain the constraints and everything else. And if you want accessibility, you need to ask for it. And if you do ask for it, it's adding one simple sentence to all your prompts. It's just one simple sentence, and it will deliver accessibility that, I will be honest, is 9 out of 10 times better than most developers will come out with when they try and implement accessibility. It's not perfect, but accessibility isn't perfect. It needs testing. We always have to mark our homework. So the key thing is that when we're building all this stuff, whatever we're building, we need to include accessibility. It's all about the language that we use and the way that we talk. So here's my example, and this is where I was having fun over the last couple of weeks. I'm not a coder. I will say that up front. I was many years ago when I first started out in IT. I was a coder. I did a lot of stuff, and that has remained in the back of my mind. I can read code, I cannot write it. And I'm in the process of launching something, which I'll come on to shortly. I wanted some WordPress plugins, because that's the content management system I know. I thought, I need those. And people said, oh, you should try using AI. And I'm like, it's not going to do the job. It's not going to do the job. And I gave it a go. And I'm telling people I work with this as well when they're using this. We can use this to generate code that actually can do a pretty darn good job of what we need. We can generate JavaScript, we can generate PCF controls, embedded HTML resources, all those wonderful things that we like to stick into model-driven apps, canvas apps, dynamics. We can add all that extra functionality and all that joy. And if we want to make sure that we're developing accessible functionality, we can just simply ask it to comply with something called WCAG 2.2 requirements. WCAG is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and basically it is the standard for which most accessibility standards base themselves off. It was designed originally for websites. It's become part of rich applications, internet applications, and those standards have been adopted across everything. When you go into Microsoft 365 and you use Accessibility Checker in PowerPoint and it says your color contrast isn't right, it's using color contrast that matches WCAG settings. But we can just simply, in our prompt, very simply just say, and make sure the code and the output complies with WCAG 2.2. And I gave this a go. I asked it, I used Claude. I've tried it in using GitHub Copilot, using the Sonnet models. I've used Claude AI. I've also used a few of the other tools and tried out using different models. And I just said, right, create me a WordPress plugin that'll allow me to create a collection of quotes in a new table in the main database with quote text and source. And then I want a widget that will display a random quote using either shortcode, the Gutenberg editor, or Elementor. And the widget should comply with WCAG 2.2. Colors should be tested for WCAG compliance. And then just because I'm a good boy and I like commented code and I want to make sure I understand it, make sure it's all fully commented. And here we go. Let me move over and share a screen. Let me make sure I get the right one, because you don't want to get all the random stuff that I've got. And can I just check that you can see that? People see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Cool. So, because I've done a few responses, I asked it to summarize. Give me a WordPress plugin to create 2 fields, quote text and quote source, and display random quotes on a widget. So I come into my WordPress and straight away I've got a quote randomizer plugin. It's wonderful. I can edit quotes, I can add new quotes. I've added a whole bunch of quotes that I've gathered to do with neurodiversity and disabilities and things like that. I can add new quotes quite easily in the plugin, and I've not edited this code at all. All I've done is told it to do what I want it to do. And then I come and stick it on a website. Now, this website is work in progress, so the website is astonishingly bad at the moment. But there's the plugin. It's created it for me. It's done the job. And if I use, it's not showing up very nicely on this. Doesn't like zooming, but using an accessibility checker tool extension in Edge, it is finding absolutely, and I know it's very difficult to actually see. Let me see if I can find it. No, it's not going to let me find it. Oh, there you go. It's not had any issues with the plugin. It has generated it. It is complying with accessibility standards. It has done the job perfectly that I asked it to. I have not coded any of that. It has created something. It's about the only thing on this web page that passes, but it passes all web content accessibility guideline standards. And it blew my mind when it did that. And we can do that with all of our PCF controls. We can do that with all of our JavaScript that we use to pop up messages on screen or error messages or warnings. We can, just by adding a simple statement of make it WCAG compliant, it will create what we need it to. It closed the tab. That's annoying. I would show you the template, but I can't find it at the moment. But the plugin itself, it does exactly what I asked it to. And Copilot, I appreciate you possibly won't be able to see this, but I asked Copilot very quickly to create me a CSS file that is WCAG compliant for a basic website and to include all the information. And again, it has done exactly that. Now, this was one of the first tests I did with Copilot. And when I first asked Copilot to generate CSS, it was very iffy on some of the contrast ratios. The contrast that it reports and whether it passes or fails is a lot more reliable now. We can trust it with a greater degree of trust than we could even a year ago, even as recent as that. It will generate the stuff, and it gives us such a big head start on things. It really does. So come on. Oh, there we go. Too many windows open. So if I come back in here and jump along, because I don't want to be waffling along for too long. But that kind of leads me on to something that I'm launching, and I'm kind of taking this as a bit of a chance, A, to plug it, and B, to really give me a bit of a kick up the backside to make sure I do something. But this year, that website and the work that's being done is we're launching a new community that brings together people who do accessibility, brings together all those wonderful people who do podcasts, events, speaker events, and talk about accessibility, so that then people have got a central place that they can go to find who's blogging about accessibility, what articles are there out there, what videos are there out there, what podcasts are there out there, what are the latest resources we can find. It's not just for people who speak about accessibility or blog about it. It's designed as a resource for people like developers, architects, anybody that has to build something where accessibility is a requirement, which should be everything that we build. So it's there, or it will be there, as really an easy place to discover and find things. So I hope you'll join me on that journey and keep an eye on things as we go along. The podcast will be launching soon, and the website is work in progress at the moment, but it should be out there. Well, you can go to it now and laugh at how bad it is, but it is improving as I go. So yeah. And my final plea, because I don't want to go over time, I'm trying to be a really good boy. Please, just everything that you do with AI, whether it's vibe coding, whether it's building agents, chatbots, whatever, please just add accessibility. It's one simple sentence that you can add, and it will elevate things. It will give you such a good starting point and a good foundation to build on. You need to test it, you need to mark it, you need to check it out, but it gives you such a head start on these things, and it adds so much more functionality that quite often won't get put in. So please, just one simple sentence is all it takes, and it can elevate your prompts. And with that, I'll just say thank you. Yeah, my links and different QR codes and everything else there. And if anybody's got any questions, please reach out to me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to chat. And if anybody's interested in being part of 365 Ally, then please reach out again. I'd love to talk. And if anybody just wants to talk about accessibility, just shout and I'll be happy to talk. So thank you for having me.